If you met me years ago, quiet, observant, introverted, you probably wouldn't expect me to end up in corporate strategy, leading cross-functional initiatives, aligning multiple divisions, and influencing decisions with long-term impact. And to be honest, I wouldn't have expected either because for most of my life, I believed what many people are silently taught. Quiet people don't become leaders, introverts follow, extroverts lead. But today, I want to share a different idea, a disruptive one. What if silence is not a weakness? And what if silence is actually one of the most powerful forms of leadership in modern organization? Deborah Barrett, in Leadership Communication, emphasizes that leadership starts with ethos, credibility, authenticity, and presence. She never writes, leaders must be loud or you need to be the strongest voice to lead. Instead, she explains that effective leadership relies on purposeful communication, clear intention, and the ability to understand your audience. And this is where quiet leaders shine most. Quiet leaders listen deeply. We observe what others overlook. We hear the emotion beneath the words. We notice patterns in behavior, tone, and tension. We may not speak the most, but when we do speak, we speak with clarity, not noise, with purpose, not pressure. In today's world, overwhelmed with information, urgency, and constant talking, presence become more powerful than volume. There was a moment in corporate strategy quality meeting that made this clear to me. Several divisions filled the room, from operations, finance, commercial, HR, each with strong views, each with pressing priorities, each with convinced their perspective was the most critical. The room grew louder and louder. Arguments escalated. People defended their turf, their timelines. But as I watched, I noticed something else happening underneath the noise. They were not fighting about strategy. They were fighting for something more human, to be heard, to be acknowledged, to feel that their role in the decision mattered. So, instead of jumping into the chaos, I did what silent leaders naturally do. I paused. I listened. I mapped the entire conflict silently in my mind. And when the moment was right, I said, let's evaluate this through two lenses: what we need to sustain today and what we must secure for the future. The room shifted because clarity carries more power than volume, because people respond to direction, not dominance, and because when a leader speaks from reflections, not reactions, the message lands differently. That day, I realized silent leadership is not about absence. Silent leadership is alignment. It's the ability to bring people back to the purpose. Well, let's be honest. We live in a world that worships noise. We praise people who speak quickly, loudly, and confidently. We assume leadership belongs to those who take the mic first, interrupt the fastest, or dominate the conversation. And because of that, silence is often misunderstood. Quiet equals passive, quiet equals insecure, quiet equals unprepared. But here's my provocative question: what if society has been measuring leadership with the wrong indicators? Because here's the uncomfortable truth: the loudest person dominates a moment, the quietest person can shape the direction. Noise demands attention, silence earns trust. Noise fills space, and silence creates space. Barrett emphasizes that effective leadership communication must be strategic, not impulsive, not reactive. and not emotionally driven. And silent leaders excel at exactly that. We don't speak to perform, we speak to move things forward. We don't speak to show power, we speak to create clarity. And clarity, not noise, is the real currency of leadership. People often assume silence means nothing is happening, but silent leadership is not passive. It is deeply active, but internally active. Here's what silent leaders actually do, quietly but powerfully. The first one, we listen for alignment, not argument. We hear concerns, emotions, and unspoken fears. And then we read the room. We sense tensions, ego, urgency, readiness long before others notice. And then we filter noise into patterns. Where others hear chaos, we see systems. And then we speak with intention. Every sentence has a purpose, not wasted words, no emotional dumping. And then the last one, we create calm in high pressure decisions. And calm is one of the most powerful leadership's currency. In today's environment, fast, uncertain, complex, calm leadership are not just useful, they are necessary. Silent leadership is not about speaking less, it's about speaking with meaning, with timing, with insight. In corporate strategy, I learned an important lesson. You cannot force alignment, you can only inspire it. You coordinate people from different divisions with different priorities, different pressures, different KPIs. You cannot mandate corporations. You cannot push your ideas onto people. You cannot win by overpowering. You win by gaining their trust, by offering clarity, by showing the bigger picture, by helping people see beyond their silo. This is exactly what Barrett calls strategic leadership communication, the ability to guide, influence, and align through purposeful communication. And quiet leaders are built for this because influence is not about volume. Influence is about resonance, the ability to make people think, reflect, and act. But my real transformation actually happened long before corporate strategy. It happened during my first experience leading a department. There is social department. I was so young, I was unsure, I doubt myself every day. I kept thinking, I'm too introverted for this. I don't have the voice of a leader. I won't be able to guide people. Every stereotype of leadership made me feel very small. But I still tried. Not by pretending to be extroverted, not by copying loud leadership, but by leading with what I did have: listening, care, structure, empathy, consistency, and reflection. And to my surprise, the department I led won the award for Best Social Department in the faculty. Quiet me, introverted me, the one who thought silence was a weakness, leading the best team. That achievement didn't just change my career, it changed my identity. It proved that leadership is not defined by personality. Leadership is defined by impact. And impact doesn't need volume. Impact needs intention. That moment taught me maybe there was never anything wrong with my silence. Maybe I was leading all along, but just in a different way. Organizations today don't need more performers. They don't need leaders who dominate meetings. They don't need people who talk the most. They need leaders who can think deeply, listen intentionally, navigate complexity, align across silos, manage conflict, hold space for others, communicate with purpose, make decisions with clarity. And all of this, is exactly what quiet leaders do the best. Barrett calls this audience-centered leadership, leading by understanding people. Introverted, reflective, silent leaders were made for this moment, not by changing themselves, but by realizing the world finally needs what they naturally offer. So, if you are quiet, if you observe more than you speak, if you doubt whether your voice is enough, let me tell you something clearly. Your silence is not empty. Your silence is full, full of clarity, full of empathy, full of insight, full of leadership. Silent leadership is not about speaking less. It's about speaking with purpose. It's about leading with presence, not noise. It's about being the steady anchor in a storm of voices. The world has enough loud leaders. Now it's time for the leaders who listen. Leaders like you. Thank you.